Hi, this is Bob Iaccino coming to you from the CME Group trading floor in Chicago, talking Dow Jones futures. Dow Jones sharply unchanged, a little bit higher, just over a tenth of a percent, which to me is unchanged. And we're happy to see that, to be honest, given the volatility that we saw in toward the end of last week. Now, we've got a real data-starved market this week. There is no U.S. data that I would label as high importance. There's some EU data, doesn't come till Wednesday, but otherwise the data calendar is really, really thin. It's like a desert, and the market is actually starved for data. When you look at the volatility and where it came from last week, some data right now to give the market direction would be a good thing. Now, the White House seems to be happy to fill that void with data out of the White House, headlines out of the White House. Things like Gary Cohn might be leaving, and then Steve Bannon ends up resigning. Gary Cohn is staying. Steve Mnuchin talking about tax reform. Donald Trump talking about Afghanistan today. We'll see if he stays on script. I believe that he will. That's the speech he has tonight. The White House has been filling that void since we got the jobs numbers, really, and some of the CPI and the GDP revisions. The White House has been filling that void, and it hasn't all been good for the markets, especially since we came to the end of earnings season, a really strong earnings season. 73% of companies reporting beats. That's above the 5 and 10-year average on the EPS side of things. However, as we come in toward the end of the week, we have the Fed's annual Jackson Hole Symposium. That's in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, obviously. And this symposium gives two of the main central bankers, the two main central bankers. I'm obviously excluding Japan and China here. You got Mario Draghi from the ECB, and you got Janet Yellen from the US Fed. Now, they will have plenty of time to address economic disparity. They'll be able to address economic progress. But what people really want to see is the addressing of balance sheet normalization and rates. Mario Draghi is unlikely to do that at all. He's been very good at denying that that's even a subject matter within the ECB council meetings. Janet Yellen, on the other hand, and her Fed governors and Fed presidents have been a little bit more open about what they think. For example, Stanley Kaplan from the Dallas Fed last week said we need to be careful on rates, but balance sheet normalization is still okay. If you take that one step further, balance sheet normalization affects the long end of the interest rate curve. 10-year notes were back below 220 on the yield side today. So if they actually start balance sheet normalization, it could make longer term yields rise a little bit. And if they say that the short end of the curve is data dependent, then that'll steepen the curve. That could help the financial sector. As of right now, all quiet on the equities front. Dow basically unchanged, up a little bit more than 0.1%. This is Bob Iaccino talking Dow Jones futures from the CME Group trading floor in Chicago.